Hello and welcome to Otterwood Cottage, where we're building a brand new small holding in the heart of the Lincolnshire countryside. I'm Emma and we're delighted to have you along with us. It's early Saturday morning and the Polytunnel is already heating up. 20 degrees in here and climbing. I'm going to spend a little bit of time in here this morning before it gets too hot, just having a little tidy up. They've been some losses from the frost, which I told you about, which I'm going to snip and take those plants out. Some of the tomatoes need pinching out and tidying up. Some of the aubergines have some either freezer damage or just older leaves that need taking off. And I've had some surprises too. So let me just show you what we're going to be doing in here. So just to walk you around so you can see what's going on in here. This side of the polytunnel is actually the healthier of the two sides. The check early aubergines are looking absolutely fantastic. There's a little bit of tidying up to do on a couple of them. Over here, for example, a couple of slightly yellowing leaves on this smaller one at the bottom, which I'm going to take off. A number of the tomatoes are starting to need pinching out. We have a look, these need to come off. And a couple of the lower leaves I tend to keep. Lower leaves, anything that's touching the ground or close to touching the ground or starting to look a bit straggly, I tend to take off. I've also got this sad one, which although it is a bush tomato and shouldn't need staking, is feeling a bit floppy, even though it's pretty healthy and flowering. So I'm going to stake that up and give it a little bit of support. And then over here you can see these ones at the edges. This end of the polytunnel seem to get the worst of the frosts, so that tomato has survived but is looking a little sad. This one here is definitely gone. I'm going to snip that one out. I mean, it does look like it's trying to cling on, but I think I'm going to just make the call for it and cut that one out and use that space for a melon or something else. Whereas the one behind it, which is also looking a little bit damaged, it must have been colder for some reason at this end of the polytunnel than the other. It's looking a bit damaged, but it is looking definitely better than this one. So I think I'm going to keep giving this one a try. This aubergine, I think, has probably not made it through. I think that was one of the losses. And this tomato, again, like the other one, I think it's worth giving it a chance to try and come back, but it's looking a bit sad. This tomatillo I'm going to take out. Again, it's clinging on, but it is looking a little bit too damaged, and I can definitely use the space in here for other things. But some of the tomatoes on this side, my bush tomatoes, are looking fantastic, just need again tidying up along the bottom. These tomatillos flowering and looking fabulous, and these cucumbers, which I was convinced had died in the frost and really haven't done anything since the frost. They're not growing, they're not doing anything, and I was thinking I was going to take them out, but then this morning I've come in and look, they're giving us some fruit. This one too, much smaller one, but it's also giving us a cucumber. So I've got another couple of cucumbers in the conservatory which will come out here, but I think I'm going to let these try and cling on, at least get those two fruits off it that it's already giving us, and then see where we go. Aubergine there that's got a little bit of frost damage where it's been touching the polytunnel wall, so I'm going to tidy that up. So that's this morning's plan, a little half-hour job in here. Oh, the other thing to show you in here, and I'm going to move these out of here today, I think, because I think it's too warm for them. Now it's warming up even more. My beans, sweet corn are coming along. The leeks haven't germinated yet. Honestly, if they don't, I've got so many leeks going. In fact, I'm just going to quickly show you that, because I think I may have overplanted the leeks this year. Come and have a look. So out here is our kind of overflow area from the conservatory, with all of the seedlings and plantings that don't need to be inside in that warmth of the conservatory are now just out here, and also storage for dog toys, obviously. But look, I have done rather a lot of leeks. These are multi-sown. They need pricking out and putting into a seed bed, and that is something I'm going to do over the next few days, is just quickly knock up a Otter does love a squeaky toy, is just knock up a a wooden frame and fill it with compost to pop these leeks in as a bit of a seed bed, because they're too tiny yet to go out in their final places, but they're not going to come on much more in those small cells. So I think they do need to go into a bit of a seed bed until I can move them on into their final place, which will be a bed that has not yet been built. So we're going to knock that up quickly, and then there's loads more going on here. My tiny cell trays that are all mixed up are doing really well. Nearly everything is germinated. There are a few gaps, but really mostly things that I thought might not germinate haven't. Older seed, but I've got lots going on there. Lots of sunflowers here that we're just bringing on, ready to go out in the front garden. A few brassicas going on here. So some bits and pieces that need sorting out. But yeah, I had a terrible year with leeks last year, and I think I've probably overcompensated. So if the ones in the polytunnel don't germinate, I think we're still going to be okay. Okay, so I've got my nice new snips. I'll use these little ones. Got my snips. We have a plan. I'm just going to work my way around the tunnel. Now these auroras which are the ones running up the middle of this bed. I've got 8 of those, and that's because they are paste tomato, and we make lots of sauce from them. So they are determinate, which means they are kind of bush variety. I was very confused when I first started gardening about the difference between the types of tomato, and you'd hear them being referred to variously as determinate and indeterminate, or bush and vine, or bush and climbing, and I never really understood the difference. And honestly, I still think there's a lot more complexity to it than I understand even now, having done it for several years. But effectively what I've come to realise is basically all you need to know is indeterminate means that their size is not predetermined. So they will just keep growing and growing. They'll just keep going up. They're the ones you're going to want to string, and they're the ones generally that I pinch out. And pinching out, I'll do a short on that. I think most people who are watching this probably know what pinching out is. But having said that, again, when I first started, I heard people talking about things like pinching out tomatoes and felt pretty ignorant because I just didn't know what they meant, or how to go about doing it. So I might do a quick short just showing how I pinch out tomatoes. It might be helpful to someone, and if I can be helpful to someone, all the better. So generally speaking, I don't... Oh, I've just seen there's a tomato coming on this aurora plant. Let me bring you over and show you. Look at this. We're only just in May, and I've got a tomato coming on my aurora. How exciting. Okay, so what I was saying was, with the bush tomatoes, which is why they're not strung up, you can see I've got the front row strung up. The bush tomatoes I've put on the second row, they're not strung up, and that's because they are determinate, so they will only get to a certain height, and I tend to pinch them out less. The varieties I have benefit from kind of being allowed to go a bit bushy, being given a bit more space, and you get more fruit. I've found over a couple of years of working, what we're on, 5th year of working with these varieties now, saving seed from them and growing them year on year, I've found the bush ones definitely benefit from just being allowed to, as it says on the tin, bush out and not be messed about with too much with trying to tidy or stake or kind of do too much to guide them. So with these, with all of the tomatoes, I take off any leaves that are looking damaged or a bit sad towards the bottom, and definitely anything that's touching or near the floor, and then pinching out as we go up. I don't think there's any to pinch out on this one, and continuing if they are the indeterminate varieties, the ones that climb, then just winding them round the strings. This is my first year of doing strings this way, because the greenhouse that we had at the allotment wasn't really set up to allow us to string straight up to a pipe. So I used to use bamboo canes and string, a combination of the two. So I've seen many people use this stringing method and know it works well from seeing them, but it's been really good to be able to use it myself this time. Now, where was I? So yes, indeterminates are the ones whose size isn't determined, and they're the ones that you'd think of as kind of growing up vining type tomatoes that you're going to want to string up. So I don't think it's as complicated. It probably can be much more complicated than that. I think there's probably much more to know. But knowing those two things, indeterminate, it will just keep growing and growing and growing. So you're going to want to string it and be a bit more careful about pinching out. Generally, I've found the indeterminates need pinching out and kind of tidying up a bit more, or they get out of control and you don't get so much fruit. Determinates, the size is determined. It's only going to grow to a certain size, so it's more of a bush tomato. And in my experience, certainly with the varieties I grow, which are Aurora and Latta, are benefit from being allowed to sprawl a bit. I've got some flowers starting to turn into fruit on these aubergines. These are the Czech earlies, and they are, true to their name, seem to be flowering and starting to produce fruit really early, which is exciting. So again, with those, I've just removed, in fact I'm going to remove that one as well. I've removed any leaves that are starting to yellow or look a bit damaged, and allowing the rest to continue growing on. I wish that I could bring the smell of this to you while you're watching, because the smell of tomato plants is just the smell of summer to me. It's absolutely one of my favourite things to experience, and it makes me so happy. So these garnet tomatoes, which I planted in the middle of the polytunnel, definitely took the worst of the frost, which makes sense if you think about the fact that these doors aren't sealed, so it would make sense that the tunnel is colder in the middle part when the weather creeps in. So having said I thought that one might just about make a comeback, when I started to remove the frost damaged leaves, there really is very little of it left. I think probably that is going to have to go, that one, but I am giving it one last Hail Mary. I've got a couple of weeks still before any other heat-loving plants, the melons and so on, come out here. So I'm going to give it till then, and if it hasn't made a comeback by then, I'm going to take that one out. I took this one out, which was very damaged, and these two I've been pretty brutal. What probably looks like a extraordinarily severe haircut. I've taken all of the frost damaged leaves off and just left what's looking like good growth at the top. That one's looking a bit thirsty, so I'm wondering if when we've been watering in here, we've somehow missed this patch, or there's something about this patch that's particularly dry, because that plant is looking much thirstier than all of our others. We're due to water in here tonight, so I'll make sure that gets an extra big drink. So we may only end up with 2 garnets left, which is a shame because I love the fruit that comes off the garnet, but equally we've got lots of other tomatoes, and I'm sure we will make do with 2 garnet plants, and the upside is more space to put melons or cucumbers in, so you know, silver linings. final side done. And what I've done on some of these are Latta tomatoes, L-A-T-A-H, that's spelt Latta. They're a really sprawling bush tomato, so determinate. They will get to a particular size. What I've done with those though, which I've never tried before, but let's see if it works, is I've taken off the side shoots that had some frost damage, and I've left the shoots that you would normally pinch out to see if they help it recover, because they're fresher growth. That one's got a little bit of damage, but this one's got no damage. And as I said before, I'm not normally so careful with bush tomatoes anyway about pinching out, so I've just left in these kind of extra shoots and taken the main side shoots off because they had quite a lot of frost damage, and I've done that on all 4 of my Latta plants. So again, it looks quite extreme, but what I've taken off was severely damaged stuff. Similarly with these diamond aubergines, quite a lot of the lower leaves, this side of the polytunnel definitely took it harder than the other side. So a lot of the lower leaves were looking unhappy. I've taken those off, left plenty of leaf for the plant to continue to photosynthesize, and hopefully they will make a comeback all the way to the end there. So there's a mix of the diamond and the black beauty aubergine along that row. This stuff, which I think, someone might correct me, but I think this is creeping buttercup. I have come to realise this is going to be our nemesis in this property. We've had other nemesis, is that the plural? In other places we have, but I think creeping buttercup is going to be what we're fighting here. This tomato, I mean, this really is a Hail Mary. I was planning to take this out completely, and then as I was about to take it down, I saw these ever so tiny little fresh, healthy looking shoots, and I just thought, well, why not give it a go? So, I mean, it looks ridiculous, and I suspect that I'll probably end up taking it out anyway, but one last chance, right? Give it a go. The other tomatillos are looking great, and actually some beautiful flowers forming on these. So I'm looking forward to those coming. Both of those are looking wonderful. And the little pickling cucumbers, again, I've given a very severe cutback because they were so damaged, and again, I thought they'd completely given up the ghost. But as I showed you, we have got, and on this plant actually we've got more than I thought. Now, them producing fruit so early might be a sign of stress, but you know what? I thought I was going to lose them completely. If I get 4 pickling cucumbers off them, then great. I mean, this one actually looks like it's got some quite healthy growth at the top. So I've cut off all the unhealthy stuff. I ummed and ahed about this one because it has got some healthy growth down here, but it hasn't got any at the top. So I have left that one on. I think that one's probably more at risk than this one. But let's see, you know, pickling cucumbers, lovely to have, not a massively high value crop for us. So if they survive, great, and if they don't, I shall replace them with some of the stuff we've got in the conservatory. Right, I've got other stuff to get on with this morning, but that is Polytunnel Tidy Up complete. It has risen by about 5 degrees in the short time I've been in here. And this is how we've ended up. Snips cleaned, snips away. Time to get on with my day. See you soon.